much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. David Webb.
Thank you, David and Susan. Oh my goodness, one of my favorites. Hello, 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 hello. I think I got a little echo there. Thanks, guys. Wow, look around you. Boy, we got a nice crew here today. Pretty nice. Good to see these beautiful shining faces. First time to see you this year, most of you. Well, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. And many of you I've not seen before, and I'm so glad you could be with us here today. Thanks for coming and joining us for a very, I feel a very special ceremony that we have here in Unity and that we honor. We don't have a lot of ceremony in Unity, but the ones that we do, to me, are very special and they're very significant and very, very beautiful. Well, we've just finished up 2014, and there have been a lot of things that happened in 2014, haven't there? Boy, it was been an amazing, amazing year. A very powerful year in many ways, a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities and breakthroughs for on a personal level, but also on a world level, I feel. And it's a great time, I think, as we move into 2015 to take some time to reflect back on the previous year, and then also reflect back on a lot of the things that have happened that are very challenging but also worthwhile. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but how many of you make New Year's resolutions? Have you made a New Year's resolution? I came across this wonderful comic strip from Dennis the Menace, and he says, boy, you should hear all the revolutions everybody's coming up with this year. And Mom says, I think you mean resolutions. Yeah, well, Mr. Wilson wants to be thinner, and Joey wants to be taller, and Margaret wants to be smarter, and Gina wants to be stronger, and I just want to be better. And Mom says, good for you, Dennis. How about you, Dad? Well, I want to make your mother as happy as I can all year. And Dennis says, well, what about you, Mom? Well, my resolution is to make sure that you both keep your resolutions. And I came across a great Ziggy cartoon, and it says, it seems like all my New Year's resolutions just go in one year and out the other. Well, some years ago, I made a decision, and I don't know exactly where I came to this awareness, but I think it was from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I really admire and respect a lot. And I decided that I wasn't going to make resolutions, I was going to set intentions. And I think there's a real powerful significance between those two. When you set a clear intention, it really is about focusing in the direction that you want to go and taking steps on a consistent daily basis and moving in that direction. And so to me, it just seemed like a much freer way of working with the understanding of creating what I want to experience in life. In Unity, we do teach and understand that our thoughts and our feelings and our belief systems are really there and are creating our experiences in our life and our world. And so we want to participate in that activity in a way that we're more aware and more awake and more conscious to doing that. And this ceremony, I think, is a wonderful way of working not only with our conscious mind, but also working with the subconscious levels of mind and working with the superconscious levels of mind. And we define those, the subconscious really are those things that are really below our conscious awareness. And then the superconscious is that level of our conscious mind that really is in tune with and connected with our higher self, with our higher nature. It's more a direct connection with the spiritual potential and possibilities within us. That Christ that we talk about, that Jesus came and showed us. It is, and Christ really is according to Charles Fillmore, is that perfect idea in the heart and mind of God of what you and I were created to be in possibility and potential. And Jesus came and showed us a way of experiencing more of that unique nature, and that it was his work and his plan in life and what he was, I believe, called to do. And I believe that all of us are really also called to do that as well, is to show forth that divine possibility. I think that is really, to me, one of the most significant good news or gospels that we can celebrate, is the understanding that what Jesus said when he said, "The things that I have done, ye shall do also, and even greater things." And so even though we honor and recognize and appreciate our older brother Jesus, our way shower, for showing us the possibilities of each of us, it really is about us tapping into and learning to live more from the possibilities within us. And that, to me, is really the work that all of us are here and called to do. We each one are unique in that respect. We're here to experience more of the possibilities of our divine nature. And so I read to you from Philippians chapter 3, verse 3 through 14. "My brethren," this is from Paul, "I do not consider that I have reached the goal, but this one thing that I do know, forgetting those things which are behind, I strive for those things which are before me. I press toward the goal to receive the prize of victory of God's highest calling through Jesus Christ." I love that verse. I press toward the goal to receive the prize of victory of God's highest calling through Jesus Christ. And to me, what's being said here is the highest calling is the calling of Jesus to come up higher, for each of us to come up higher in our own unique possibilities, our own unique possibilities of expressing a greater good in our lives, to experiencing more of our connection with God, to experiencing more of our oneness with the divine, and to be able to live from that place of a richer love and deeper compassion, a more caring life, a more abundant and prosperous life. Jesus said, "I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly." And so we are being called forth to experience that in our lives. And this is a great time and a celebration and a ceremony for helping us to move through those things that might be holding us back and moving us more into those potentials and possibilities. Well, it's been an interesting year, 2014. There have been a lot of things that have gone on. It's, there's some, oftentimes there's a Chinese blessing and curse, and it's, "May you live in interesting times." And you might say we are living in interesting times, and I remember Paul Harvey once said, in times like these, it helps to remember that there have always been times like these. Yeah. It's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that there have always been challenges, there have always been difficulties, but there's also been beautiful awakenings and great blessings. There's also been healing, there's been transformation. And so it's important for us to acknowledge and recognize that. I came across this wonderful little paragraph from Cheryl Richardson in the book Life Makeovers. And we're going to use this as part of our service and our ceremony today. And so actually I'm going to go ahead and begin to light our bowl. And I'll put this vestment on. This was actually a gift to me from Bonnie and John Connor. And I love putting on the vestment. I've never worn vestments before. And it was given to me as a gift, and I really had to take some time to reflect on and think about what it meant. And I realized that some of my resistance to wearing vestments has been that I always felt like that was somehow was to make me something special. And I want you to understand that that's not how I see it anymore, and I hope that that's not how you see it. When we get here on Sunday mornings, we do a circle. And in the circle, we have a prayer that we say every Sunday. And the prayer is, "It is not I, but the Spirit of God within me that does the works." And so for me, as I put on the vestments, that's my prayer. That is not I, but the Spirit of God is at work here through me, and I'm open to allowing that to happen here today. And so I invite each of you, as you think about me putting on the vestments, what I'd like you to do is in your own mind, see yourself putting on your vestments, whatever that might look like for you. and recognize that there is a work that's being done and being called forth from within every one of us to share that light in some way. This morning, it's my honor to participate in this by lighting our burning bowl. As we light the light of the burning bowl, I invite you to observe and notice the flames, notice the light, and think about the idea of light. And light has been a symbol for moving out of the darkness. It has been a symbol for spiritual awakening. It's been a symbol throughout history and through, I would say, almost every religion. A symbol for the presence, a symbol for the Christ. Every one of us has within us a light, and this bowl is a symbol of that divine nature. It's a symbol of that, what I call the Christ light. We have within us that Christ light, and part of this ceremony is to help awaken more of that light within ourselves. And so we see an outer symbol of an inner awareness and an inner experience of something that is beyond our human form, our human self, our limited ways of looking at things, but a way of really tuning into and tapping into that superconscious level where we connect with the Christ light. Today we're going to do a ceremony that helps us to tune into that. And so what I'm inviting you to do is to look inside your bulletin, and you should have 2 notebook-sized sheets of paper. There's 2 of them in there. And we're going to use each of them. You should also have inside this very small piece of flash paper. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. If you don't have that, please raise your hand. If you need, you'll need a pen. We're going to do some writing this morning. If you don't have a pen, please raise your hand if you need a pen. Would you repeat? So you should have 2 sheets of notebook paper and 1 sheet of flash paper. You should also have an envelope in your bulletin. Okay. They've gone to go get more. We have plenty more. We do. I made sure. Just what I gave you. Okay. If someone needs more flash paper, I'll ask someone to tear one in half because you only need a small piece. Oh, there's 2 over here? Wonderful. Who needs a piece of flash paper? You need. Oh, you got some extra? Oh, good. Who needs flash paper? Here's a little more. Anyone else need flash paper? Right over here, James. All right. There you are. Whoop, you got it? Okay. So let me read to you this from Cheryl Richardson. So often when we launch a new beginning in our lives, we start out by setting goals or making resolutions. But I'd like you to start this journey in a different way. I'd like you to begin by acknowledging yourself for what you've already accomplished, and more importantly, who you have become over the last year. A high-quality life starts with a high-quality you. Don't rush into this new year frantically trying to catch up or make up for what you didn't do in the past. These kinds of frenetic rushing and hopeless browbeating keeps you tied to the past and feeling bad about yourself. Get a fresh start on this process by being gentle with yourself. Set aside some time to reflect on all you've done right over the last year, by considering the following questions. And as I ask you to consider these following questions, take a moment and make some notes to yourself on one of the notepads, pieces of paper, the larger pieces of paper, this. And right at the top of it, things I have accomplished or who I have become in 2014. And as you reflect on this a moment, take a moment to write down, just in words, doesn't need to be a big paragraph or long sentences. We're not writing the great American novel here. But write down some things that remind you of of what qualities or characteristics that you might have strengthened over this past year. What qualities or characteristics might you have strengthened over this past year? They don't have to be perfected. You can just have improvements. It's okay. One of my favorite musicians, David Roth, has a great song called "Practice Makes Progress." What have you shared, or what acts of kindness have you done this last year, this 2014? In what ways have you supported others in some way? What's something that you've done for someone else over 2014? How have you perhaps helped to make someone else's life a little nicer, a little better? It doesn't have to be a great thing. It can be a little thing. It doesn't have to be a little thing. It could be a great thing. What are some special memories that you have? What were some special moments? What were some special moments that you helped to create for someone else? What were some things that you achieved or accomplished over the last year? What are some things that you maybe didn't celebrate but think you might need to celebrate a little more? Now, this is a process that you actually can continue even after this service and this ceremony. And so what I invite you to do is take this sheet of paper with you when you leave today and put it in some place that's actually fairly visible for you. Put it on a mirror, tape it on your desk, or that's what I do, sometimes take things to my desk where I can see them. And it's just a reminder, and it's a good reminder of things that have been really valuable and worthwhile for you over the past year. And you can take a moment now and put that aside. And in this part of the service, I would invite you to take out, take out one small sheet of flash paper. It can be this size or this size, doesn't matter. Again, part of the purpose of this is not to put too much energy or attention into those things that we want to release. So we're making it small. And so as we go through, I'm going to give you 8 different areas in your life that I invite you to consider ways and things that we need to let go of. Now, the purpose of all of the letting go is so that we can truly be present here in this moment and in this life. We have a tendency to put a lot of our mental, emotional focus and energy on things that are not where we have power. In fact, Louise Hay says, the now moment is the moment of power, because it's the only moment that we have to make a choice. You can only make a choice now. Any choice that you made 2 seconds ago, you can't make again. And you have no choice in what you're going to choose next. It's not here yet. The moment and the time of power is now. And so I'm going to invite you to really reflect on and think about ways of releasing, ways that we tend to hold our energy back that keep us from moving forward into our greater possibilities and good in life. And so I invite you to think about all of those things that you are holding from your past. And I invite you to take a moment, and as you write down, don't write out sentences, write out simply a word or a phrase, or you can actually just do a doodle, something that reminds you of something of your past that you might be spending probably too much time and energy thinking about. You understand what I'm saying? There are things that from our past that we need to let go of. We need to let go of the energies around them. We need to let go of the whatever is taking up much of our time from our past. And so take a moment now and write a word or two about what you wish to release from your past. When we think about the past and things we want to let go of, regrets are usually a good place to start. Recently we had a service and we talked about forgiveness, and one of my favorite definitions of forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better yesterday. Giving up all hope of a better yesterday. And so take a moment and allow yourself to reflect on and think about what is it that might be holding me in the past. And just make a note of that. where we also tend to expend and probably not effectively use a lot of our mental, emotional, creative power and energy is we actually spend a lot of time focused on the future. So I want you to think about what are you putting your energy into in terms of thinking about the future that's not fruitful to you, that's not serving you, that's not necessarily holding and creating the kind of future that you want to experience coming up. The word we often use for this is called worry. What are you worrying about in the future? We need to release the worry. We need to release the fears, the anxieties, any thoughts about the future that are not the kind of experience that we want to draw into our experience, that we want to have the energy of and create in our lives. Make sense? So take a moment, write a word, a phrase, anything that would hold you from being present, from being clear and centered today. And then another area that we tend to spend a lot of time and energy in that doesn't really serve us is simply our fears. We all have them, don't we? They're there. We might as well acknowledge them, but they don't necessarily serve us. What are the fears that you are spending time and energy on? Are you at a place where you're ready to begin letting go of some of those fears? They can be little anxieties or they can be big fears. But we are in the process of creating based upon the focus of our intentions and our energy. And I think about Job, who said, "That which I fear most has come upon me." So we want to not put too much energy in those fears, so let's take some time to take a second and be open to releasing those fears to a higher nature, to that Christ within. So write down any fears that you have. Sometimes our fears are the biggest fear is acknowledging our fear. Just write a word. The next area we want to do some releasing in is our negative or limiting thoughts or emotions. And actually I'm going to separate those because sometimes we have thoughts and we're not conscious of the emotions, and sometimes it's easier to be conscious of the emotions and we're not even aware of the thoughts behind them sometimes. They're always connected, but sometimes it helps us to separate and understand how we are responding to our own thoughts and what emotions we're holding about those. So let's start with the thoughts. What are any limiting thoughts or negative thoughts that are not serving you anymore? I can give you a couple of little hints. If it has something to do with criticism or judgment, put it down. If it has something to do with criticism and judgment of yourself or someone else, it's no longer serving you. Trust me, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve spirit, and it doesn't serve your higher self. And now we shift into those emotions that are not serving us. Believe it or not, emotions do serve us for the most part. But we have a tendency to get stuck in certain emotions, don't we? And so I want you to think about what are some of the emotions that you have a tendency to have more in a, how would I say it, more habitually, habitual kinds of focus of energy and emotion. So that are not really serving you or bringing you into your highest self. And so one of the ones that you might consider is, do you have a pattern of getting frustrated? Anybody ever get frustrated? Do you find yourself getting into that energy quite often? It's one of the ways that we have learned to respond to certain things, but it doesn't really always serve us, does it? But sometimes it's simply a triggered reaction. Anger can be another one. Sometimes we are just, there have been studies that shows that we can actually become addicted to the chemicals that are created by certain emotions that we get triggered into. So if we find ourselves having an energy of anger, a lot of anger in our lives, that may be something that we want to take some time to let go of. And I'm going to invite you to write down not only the emotion itself, but I'm going to invite you to take it a little deeper. Any thought and emotion that we have because there's something that we are getting out of that. And so in order to really truly be willing to be free of that, we have to be willing to let go of what we're getting out of it. And so if you find yourself in a pattern of frustration, anger, perhaps it's a poor me, perhaps it's a feeling of victim, it's important for us to recognize those and also be willing to let go of the need we have of holding on to those energies and those feelings. Does that make sense? It's called a psychological payoff in psychology. We get a payoff from some of this. And that's not a bad thing, but it doesn't always serve us. And so if you can be conscious and listen, is there a payoff? And if you can't think of what that payoff might be, just write down the payoff. Because your subconscious knows. So take a moment now and reflect on that and see if there are things that you can release that would move you into a greater experience of freedom from those triggered responses and emotions. Another area that we tend to spend a lot of time and energy on, it seems, is we tend to either spend a lot of time and energy thinking about or not thinking about our physical body. You follow me? Now, many of you spend a lot of time thinking about your physical body, and a lot of you spend a lot of time trying not to think about your physical body, right? Am I correct? And so one of the things that we want to do is just release our physical well-being, our physical body, into a higher awareness, into the Christ light, you might say. Release that concern or care or whatever might be going on physically into a higher energy and vibration, and into a higher awareness of the possibilities of physical well-being. Make sense? A lot of our time and energy and focus gets caught up in trying to get the body to be or do something different than what it is being and doing, right? And so we spend a lot of time and energy in that, and it's oftentimes it's like pushing the river. And so one of the things we want to do is release our physical body with our physical well-being into a higher experience of the possibilities of life and health and wholeness and well-being. So take a moment now and write down anything, any concerns or any thoughts that you tend to have around your physical well-being, and write a word or phrase that represents that. Okay, the next area we want to do some releasing around into the Christ light is our human relationships. Ram Dass says that relationships are our highest yoga. We learn more and grow more through our relationships than any other way. And I believe that's true. And so one of the things that we want to do is put a lot of good energy into our relationships, and one of the ways we can do that is by letting go of a lot of the fears, the anxieties, the concerns, the cares, the hurts, whatever might be going on in a particular relationship. We want to release that to something higher. We want to allow something higher to work in and through those relationships, whether it be our work relationships, our personal relationships, our at home, our relationships with extended family, our relationships with friends. We release those into the Christ light and let that light work through us to bring about healing and transformation and something greater. And so take a moment now and make a note of any relationships that you feel like you need to release into the light. And then the last relationship, or the last area of our lives that we tend to put a lot of time and energy in thinking about and putting focus on and tying our creative energy up with, is our financials, our finances. And so if there have been things that have been keeping your attention about your finances, maybe in a not good way, but maybe in a positive way, who knows? But if you're spending a lot of time and energy concerned about your finances, it's a great area for you to do some releasing around into something higher. And so let's take a moment and just any thoughts that come out about your finances. All right. So, in a moment, you're going to be given an opportunity to release these into the Christ light. But we're going to do our meditation before and during that, actually. And so I'd like you to go ahead and get into a comfortable place. So get into a comfortable place, and as you get into this comfortable place, just take a nice deep breath. And in your mind's eye, imagine and see here the burning bowl. And the burning bowl, again, is a symbol of that light of the Christ nature, that highest that is within you. As Paul said, Christ in you, your hope of glory. It is that greater possibility that's always available and in and working in and through you. And as you reflect on the light of that Christ nature, I invite you to imagine and see yourself now releasing each of these cares and concerns into that higher vibration, that higher light, that higher energy of spirit. I release all of my past into the Christ light. Let's affirm that together. I release all of my past into the Christ light. Just breathe that in and out. I release all of my future into the Christ light. Together? I release all of my future into the Christ light. And just imagine and see yourself now releasing that. I release all of my fears into the Christ light. Together? I release all of my fears into the Christ light. Just feel them being released. I release all of my negative or limiting thoughts into the Christ light. Together? I release all of my negative or limiting thoughts into the Christ light. I release all of my negative or limiting emotions into the Christ light. Together? I release all of my negative or limiting emotions into the Christ light. I release all of my physical body into the Christ light.
I release all of my physical body into the Christ light.
I release all my human relationships into the Christ light. I release all of my human relationships into the Christ light. I release all of my finances and physical well-being into the Christ light. I release
all of my finances and physical well-being into the Christ light.
Just breathe that in and out. Feel and see yourself releasing all of that into the light of Spirit, into the Christ light, and see it being transmuted and transformed into a higher energy and vibration. And in a moment, you're going to be invited to come forward and release these into the Christ light by touching this flash paper to the flame and dropping it into the bowl of the Christ light. The thing I'll invite you to do is to do that very quickly and let go very quickly, because I can assure you, if you try to hold on, just like many of these things that you are releasing, they will burn you. So please be open to not being burned here today and the rest of your life with these that you're releasing. And so I'm going to invite you to come up the center aisles, and I'll ask our ushers to assist. To come up the center aisles, and then if you will, please return by the outer aisle, and that way we can keep a flow going. And we'll actually start with the front row right here. As you're releasing, watch the flame and see it being transformed.
Everything that I've been holding on to, I let go. I surrender. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. my change. I'm ready for my change. I forgive me everything that I've been holding on to. I let go. I surrender. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change. I'm ready for my change.
Take a deep breath. You've just released an amazing amount of energy. And so what I invite you to do is take a moment now to be open to rechanneling that energy. And so I'm going to invite you to take out that other piece of notebook paper that you have. Take out your pens. And I want you to think about the year ahead, and actually more specifically 6 months out. And I want you to write a letter to God, to the divine, whatever word you use for that divine, Spirit, Jesus, whatever word speaks to you. Write a letter to that divine. And I want you to write the letter in the present, as if it is present tense. And it's a letter of gratitude. And I want you to write a letter of gratitude for all of the amazing blessings that you are already experiencing. So you might write, thank you, God, for that I'm now at my ideal weight. And you can even put down a specific number if you want, or you can be general. My suggestion is those who tend to be general, I encourage you to be specific, and those who tend to be specific, I encourage you to be general. It's a good opportunity. So write down and say, thank you, God, for, and what you hope and want to experience over this next 6 months. But write it as though it is already so right now. If there's a certain income you would like to make, the universe will support you in that. Divine Spirit is saying, I want to pour you out a blessing. If there's a certain health experience you want to have in life, give thanks for it now, as though it's already so. If there's a healing that you would like to experience, give thanks that it's already done. And feel yourself in that healthy experience. If there's a healing in a relationship, or you'd like to have a relationship be deeper perhaps, or more connection, or however you would like that to show up for you, write it and say, thank you, that it is so. As you're writing, think about all these different areas that you've released. Thank you that I am in a much more peaceful state of mind, perhaps. As you're writing, let yourself feel the gratitude and feel the feeling of comfort and assurance that there's a blessing already manifesting for you. In fact, it's already manifested. It's already available in spirit. And this is part of the process of just bringing it forward. Now, these letters are confidential, they're yours. No one needs to see them, but when you feel you come to a place of completion for now, sign your name to the letter. And the envelope is there for you also. So you're going to be invited to fold this up and put it in the envelope, but we want you to put your address on the envelope. In a moment, we are going to collect the envelopes. They will be sealed and put away, and so it is confidential. But in 6 months, approximately, we're going to put a stamp on it, and we're going to send it back to you. And how many of you have done this before? Were you amazed?
Yeah.
You will be amazed at all of the wonderful blessings that you will have experienced 6 months from now. So as you begin to finish up your letters, I invite you to seal them up, and we'll ask the ushers to begin collecting those. We can use you can pass them to the, should we have them passed to the outside? Let's have them passed to the outside. Please be sure to put now this is not for your offering. If you have an offering, put that separate. So we did wind up finding some checks 6 months later, last year. Thank you for those, but we don't want to hold them for 6 months, so don't put your checks in there now. But we are going to collect these, and I'm going to put these away. And 6 months from now, we will send them back to you, and you'll have a wonderful surprise in the summer of all the great blessings that you've experienced.